It's time for our VHS trip to bring you Movie Club Summer Movie Night Series continues. And yes, I am the shipmate for you flippy floppies, JustinJustin, and this is the Movie Club Movies. This week's Drippy Droppy, Captain Ron. Welcome back, everybody. Another episode. They're not gonna break my stride. No way. Not in the summertime. Another The Movie Club Movies podcast episode. We are sticking to a summertime, summer element theme. And this one is maybe one of the best that represents that, in my opinion. And if you were young enough to kind of watch this as a rental or watch this at a friend's house at some point, then you know this is a pretty good representation of a summer family movie. Slightly good, slightly bad, slightly everything you'd like to have during a summertime movie night. And I really enjoy that about a lot of movies that are my favorites. And there's just some really interesting selections I made that kind of came from within. What's really exciting about that is when I picked a handful of movies to start with, when I was planning and deciding about this podcast, it was really not surprising, but it was a nice surprise that most of them, many of them, were summertime movies containing summer elements, and I really like that for me. I chose what I felt we all liked, and my experiences with the movie club already, and what I bring to the movie club. And it was just really a great layout of movies that really do celebrate sunny time vibe, summertime bliss. And I think the movies I've chosen and we've been talking about, I think that they display and hold up these elements. The good thing also is that we're just starting. There's many more to come, and there's just going to be a great range, and it's also going to be fun to see some similarities come together. And I really enjoy when like a layer of movie is playing into a layer of another movie, and those similarities is really what I mean. And it's just going to be really fun. I look forward to it, and we're just starting out. There is a message function to answer the questions I'm asking and to maybe be a part of the discussion if you so choose. However, just listen to what we're talking about. I'm going to ask a question, and also I'm going to highlight things about what we're talking about in each feature. And we have some segments that I'm going to go through later in the episode. But for now, calls from around the rental store flooding in. Smash that message button. More about Captain Ron later in the episode. For now, Tinseltown Talk, AI Edition. The Actors Guild joins the Writers Guild in support of industry strike due to unbalance of many things, including AI in the writer's room. That's artificial intelligence being, used, programmed. Obviously, that's something distributed as an industry tool, and it's being used to pretty much write scripts. So I say AI in the writer's room. This is one of the discussions that is bringing people to be on strike. The pattern and history of this thing is connected, paired in hand, with our use of available technology as the audience, as consumers, as fans. And that means to me, in the 80s and stuff, 80s and 90s, renting VHS, eventually renting DVDs, but renting VHS was a part of a strike at that moment, and the technology being used to take a motion picture film from the theaters into every family's living room and TV set. At least I'm going to speak about with the technology of VHS and the rental industry as a up and coming thing at the time, big thing. And that's a part of why the movie club movies exists, is because that experience that enriched my life as a young person and enriched my family as a family and enriched my friends as far as I saw it. So it just was a beautiful cycle, right? Of inspiration and creativity and entertainment, of course, from the actual piece of movie to the writer who wrote it or wrote a skit or wrote a TV show episode, to the actors acting in it, and entertainers, musicians and dancers and such. We've even talked about that on a couple of the movies already. So those people are present in our life even as a younger person. And it should be exciting and fruitful to all those working to complete polished content as tech advances. Like I said, we rented movies as kids, VHS to DVD. I purchased both as teenager, all the way to young adult, including now. Now it's digital, and now we're even moving into apps and apps owning content and things like that. I continue to pursue ideas and pop culture interests because of this content, even Weekend at Bernie's. Comedy writers are close to my heart and is one of the most overwatched genres in my life, the way I live. And I just want to say TMCMS offers our support to those voices and fairness of their industry. And a side note, I was watching soccer on Sports Channel today, and Wrexham was pausing, like coming out on the field. They like kind of had a gentleman's delay, sort of in the way that they line up. One team was lined up and they delayed lining up. And I have a hunch it's because the team is owned by two industry leaders, so to say, and industry, successful entertainers in that industry, successful examples of entertainers in that industry, might I say. And of course, a really fun sports team to watch, but that was just on this night that I'm recording, and I found that very interesting. More on that, hoping for a resolved in the near future. Tune in to your favorite comedy writers, entertainers, series creators, content creators on their social network outlets and presence on the web. The Movie Club movies started off as a social club, and most of our members would always have conversations with me and others, of course, about the movies we're covering and talking about, and I always welcomed their friendly suggestions and the discussions about what they had seen recently and such. One of those members, ELLE, we speak about every week because she is one of my closest friends and an original The Movie Club Movies friend, club member. But she's out there deep in the Andes Mountains. She's recording her steps, studying Amazon and bugs, watching the Movie Club movies on archaic media formats. Elle responds to our question from last episode.
Suddenly heard my name drop. Let's ask Elle. And I was like, what? Moise? So the question was about, with regards to camping movies, but that depends on what you're considering a camping movie. Moonrise Kingdom, Wes Anderson from a couple years ago. I love Wes Anderson, so, I remember one of the main plot lines is that two little kids have like run away to be together, and they are camping, and I think Edward Norton is like the Boy Scout leader, and he's like trying to find them with all the other camping Boy Scouts. So I feel like that kind of counts. But then I honestly was like, I mean, Homeward Bound? Because, I mean, even though they're animals, you know, but that's where it's like, is this camping or is this now survivor genre? In which case, then why not Rambo? You know, is he not in the great outdoors? Is he not, you know, having a camping experience? I mean, you tell me. It's got a little bit of, but you know, that or Castaway. You know, him and Wilson just camping on a deserted island. So, I mean, those are definitely more, I would say, survivor genre. And then I thought of like camp genre versus camping. So like Parent Trap, Meatballs, like movies that take place at camp. But like the noun, the destination of camp, but not the adjective, or I guess the verb of camping. So I'm like, I did the like camping genre could be either camping, camp. Once you get to camp, then you're just a hop skip away from like slasher summer camp. Like Blair Witch, technically camping gone wrong. Friday the 13th, combination of at camp. And then from there, I'm like, well, now it's like, are you camping in a tent or can you camp in a cabin? Because horror cabin, Evil Dead, also, you know, just like, yeah, they probably, how did they describe that weekend to each other? Oh, we're going to go to the country, do some camping in a cabin. I personally feel like if you're in a cabin, you are not camping. If you're not in a tent, and I'll give a lot of leniency for what a tent can be, because lately in the past few years, I've had some friends that have gotten in on these REI sales and like pitched like some spectacular looking house tents. But they were tents, you know, they folded up and fit in the car. So I don't know if a cabin counts. I don't know, dude.
Tent, car, trailer.
I agree. I get that too. A cabin for me is similar to a house, a building, a structure. We see those things 90% of the time in film. A tent is unique. It may have a special experience tied to it with our main character, the choices they're making or the events that are happening. It may activate something primal in us. You said survival genre, and all of that. I agree. Tents add something different for a moviegoer. Pitching tents is the motorcycle for camping. Your ass is on the road in a motorbike. Same for a tent. And like you're saying, truly camping. Different type of experience. Interesting experience.
But then also road tripping, like the RV camping comedy. But yeah, it's one of those genres. I'm like, the camping genre, I don't know, dude. Like, part of me is like, does it exist, or does it exist in like, is it like part of many subgenres?
So great to hear from Elle. She had a plethora of suggestions. It was incredible. That's what's great, is she defined camping, movies for herself. And at the same time, she included her experiences and friends like me and others, and how she and others have watched movies and come to the conclusion it might be a few subgenres in there. And I agree. You could keep going on, but the general idea of camping, it's not a big theme in movies, and she drew it out for us. There's times at camp, there's camping in a cabin, RV, and there's as we are putting it, the true form of camping in a tent. And it does make you think of the National Lampoon's Vacation. They are not an RV, but they're in a car, and the first vacation is so classic and so epic, and it is like a camping because they're living on the road, and it gets pretty funky, doesn't it, in that movie? But the majority of the movie is about the story of them in that wagon. And Elle had some really great suggestions that I wouldn't say are like, I don't think they're going to blow your night away. But she mentioned Harrison Ford and American Graffiti. And of course, that's a movie that came out before Corvette Summer. And she's right. Two future iconic co-stars were both starring in car culture, car-centered films. And she's right. Corvette Summer, a bit more car-centric. American Graffiti, the car culture, is alive and well in that period piece. And that is worth checking out. Don't forget, though, Harrison Ford is also in Call of the Wild, an outdoor, I think he's with a dog, maybe some other animals are involved. And I wondered if Elle was also including that in her Homeward Bound suggestion. I get it. There's a great handful of those movies that are very similar. A couple dogs, a dog and a pig, and they all sort of travel cross country through neighborhoods and farms and things like that. And that is sort of outdoor. And she's right. Those characters are staying outdoors, and it feels very campy. And I bet you might have watched that during the summertime in some sort of Saturday night watch. Homeward Bound, Call of the Wild, Milo and Otis, something like that. Not my bag, baby, but I also like that she brought up Castaway. Friday the 13th, 2009, takes place at Camp Crystal Lake. I throw out Cabin in the Woods. That rounds out a great choices for camping movies. Shout out to Rambo First Camp, Meatballs, Parent Trap, and also Earth Girls Are Easy, Slums of Beverly Hills, Big Top Pee-wee, and Mario Brothers also could be camp. A big suggestion. And it gets intense at times, but it is like a pretty good background movie, Sunday movie, because it has some imaginative effects or some elements that you have to use your own imagination. That it becomes more dramatic and draws you in. The movie's Castaway, Elle mentioned, and there's a lot in that movie I kind of can't watch because, yeah, it gets intense. But it is fun to watch him for the good time moments on that island where he's surviving, and it sort of gets, I'm tripping all over my words, but Elle was right. It sort of has the essence of camping, and I'll sort of stop there because that movie does go dark once you sort of step off that beach. And today also is very beachy. Captain Ron. But before we get to today's feature, let's ask Elle. Taking no chances, I'm asking 2 questions this episode. The first is about a person in Hollywood, Drew Barrymore. Elle, do you like Drew Barrymore in some things? Do you have any choice Drew Barrymore movies or roles? Drew Barrymore, famous as a young talent in the early 80s, came up in her late teens, early 20s, and that's where we got some 90s VHS gems from her. And of course she continued and really became kind of unstoppable, I'm sure, in her 30s, or at least in these late 90s, early 2000s, sort of resurgent in some romantic comedies in the early aughts. And like we may find her now, she is a boss. She has her own talk show during the days, and she's married rock stars, rubber husbands, and been a part of a famous family of actors, and sensational stories about those folks, and also been a part of some really spectacular movies like Scream. But Elle, give us some pics or tell us your thoughts on Drew Barrymore. Also, I'm taking no chances. I gotta ask you about a couple VHS classics. Have you ever seen Tron, the original? And or have you ever seen Tron Legacy, which came out in like the 2010s time? Also, almost sort of parallel in its duplicity. Have you seen the original Fletch, which is a Chevy Chase movie from like 1984? They just remade it with John Hamm, or didn't remake it, they added to the series with John Hamm maybe in 2021. Anyway, love to know if you've seen them. I really like Fletch, and I need to see this new Fletch, which is not so new anymore. Elle, get back to us. I got a chance to just get into a Wikipedia rabbit hole, and I decided to look up the Barrymore acting family dynasty, and it's because of a title of a movie I noticed, and looking into that movie, Too Much Too Soon. It's about Diana Barrymore, who is a young daughter of John Barrymore. John Barrymore, may be the pinnacle of that family, was an extremely famous, well-credited actor peaking in the 1930s, who, much like a lot of playboys of the time, married a few times and had children, and was rich enough that these relationships were rocky at times. I'm not telling you anything new, just I had never really looked into this family and this actor, and I am getting to a much more colorful personality at the end of this. But John Barrymore had a daughter who decided to become an actress, and some of the patterns that her father had exhibited, she exhibited, but it became such a much more modern Hollywood than the 30s. She was making her name in the late 40s and was quick to become, I'm going to just sort of broad stroke, sort of a party girl. But I think at the same time, she just was extra social, and maybe like overactive with her energy, because her father was also, except he drank a lot, even on set or what have you. I don't know that she got to the point where she was drinking on set, because she was only famous for about 3 years. And she was, of course, by name, became very famous, or people wanted to see her in things as soon as she was to be known as a actress. She was on the cover of Life magazine as such a fresh talent, and went on to be in some solid supporting roles in medium to hot films. But it's a quick story, it's a tragic story, and it's one that we're still working on in modern Hollywood. But at the same time, there are some powerful and good-hearted leaders out there that are making some changes, standing up, bending some contracts to make things, guess what, more fair in Hollywood and in that industry. And really, let me just add, fairness in the creative industry. So, not that her life wasn't fair, she sort of was started with the best sort of start, except for the alcoholism. But it's just interesting that she had like a shot at fame for about 3 years, exhibited patterns of her very famous father. She started to fizzle because she was just not fun to work with. People didn't like to work with her. She wasn't reliable. Uh, Alfred Hitchcock wanted her out of his party. So, she wasn't that fun. But, I mean, who's Alfred Hitchcock? What kind of parties was he having? This is a pretty young gal. So I'm going to like side with both sides. I think it's just unfortunate that maybe somebody can't balance themselves with their energy and focus on their craft the day that they're supposed to shoot a movie. Um, and it also just makes me think of all of the actors that may fall into that trap of we really liked them in a couple movies or some sort of TV series or web series, and then they go on to a highlight role or content, and it fizzles, or they fizzle in life as it happens. Our first movie, Don't Worry Darling, it seemed like the media or the sort of talk of the web town sort of wanted to see how far they could push everybody on that movie set. And I read into that, and I think that's maybe even what bit me to read into this Wikipedia, is sort of exploring those ideas of like successful people just sort of like going down this hallway of, critical torment, and how they balance that and how they bounce back, how they also treat themselves as they go through that. Does that person drink, do drugs, do pills, a vice? Or do they dive into being a vegan or dive into charity and things like that? Not that that's got to be so clear cut, but just thinking of that, I got into this Wikipedia, and here I am at Diana Barrymore, and she didn't do much, and it just fizzled out. That's the last time I'm going to say that. And continuing to someone in her family that became the new future is Drew Barrymore. And I'm younger than Drew, but she was obviously in movies and in the news or in the entertainment news, and obviously she had her issues as a young person, of course. And that's why I'm bringing all this up, is that pattern continued, and reading into what Drew Barrymore was going through, it's remarkable she came out the other side. Now, I'm repeating a lot of things about child actors, so skipping past to what I really enjoy about the actress Drew Barrymore is that she pursued what she loved, she overcame a lot of challenges, and she's still here today with us. I think you have to just put her on the scale as any other actress has any other star actress, any other star actor. I want to make that clear. I'm talking about everybody, but I am saying I'm celebrating Drew Barrymore. It's incredible, the challenges, and like I mentioned, it's almost like a hallway of torment if you're caught up in it, and if it won't let you go. And that's sort of what happened to John Barrymore. He was just so he was almost like a darling, and obviously he's talented, and you get caught up in a vice that's addictive, and you don't have the support around you. And of course, this is 1930s. We still haven't maybe hit par for mental health and addiction, but we're much more farther along than we were in the 30s. So here we are with Miss Drew Barrymore, and even just a little bit of a look at her career or life. I think pretty exciting person, and at the same time, maybe because she's just a little bit older than me, it's like I can kind of relate, and like I've kind of been right behind her in this career, and like her finding the work she needs to do, and her being sort of on TV or in the movie theaters as I go to the movie theaters or I switch on the television. She's obviously an attractive woman, so she's been, in magazines, in print, modeling, and things like that. Just a person that can be all over, and that's super exciting. But she's also been in some doozy movies, right? And she married someone named Tom Green. So here's the movie club movies, looking at somebody who kind of comes in and goes because she can be with a comedy writer, the goofballs. She can also be in some sci-fi where she has to really be on point with her emotions and her focus on what's going on, and also control her imagination, which was noted. Steven Spielberg cast her in E.T. As an aspect of her imagination was strong and remarkable for a young talent. And I'm a person who loves that word, imagination. And so that's really interesting. Drew has a TV show that's a talk show right now, which I don't think, is for my demographic. And I think during the pandemic, it might have been on or just right after. And I, of course, did catch a couple episodes because of the times we were in. But I also went down this rabbit hole on Diana because she was in her last gasp of her career, which is incredible. She was offered a late night talk show, which would have been the first of its kind, and also just female hosting it. That's incredible. And I am a late night talk show lover. I really love Letterman, and Conan was a big number 2 to me. I'll stop there. There's people like Chris Gethard that had a really great, quasi late night or quasi talk show. Also, Pete Holmes came in, and unfortunately, just sign of the times, had a talk show for about 2 years. And I want to point out most of those picks were very free with their funny. Maybe Letterman doesn't need to be in this discussion because he's a goat, and we all know. If you easily look him up for a couple paragraphs, and you'll see pretty incredible content he created. But I just love the idea of being imaginative, free with funny, and this Barrymore, Diana, and then Drew. One was offered a talk show and could have had a hand on history and maybe turns things around with such a electric choice, because just how I perceive a talk show and what we know of talk shows when they were done well just seem to rocket people into success. And you know what? I missed Jimmy Kimmel is on that list. But of course, these are really fantastic people. Drew Barrymore, not really new to the game, but at the same time, I just want to highlight that, wow, what an incredible career. She's now got her talk show, and it's almost like one of those things that's like, I wonder if it's just good for the spirit that somebody in her, family's life was going through something, and it's deactive, but on the other side of things, somebody went through a challenge, got on the other side. I mean, Drew Barrymore is a brand and is now, making the electric choice, maybe someone could have made. And in spirit, there must just be something going on there. Anyway, just thinking about the positive, and also, I get to see the new kids. Think they gonna get permanent housing, but then get booted. Great on Easy Street with a corner place. Everybody's watching. Everybody's watching. It's time now to take a listen to Concession Concerns. In past Concession Concern segments, we've talked about sweet versus salty. We've talked about the portion size of popcorns and bringing your own bottle of water, as well as eating things that are too aromatic, beyond a hot dog, beyond chicken fingers and french fries sort of thing. And this week, we're bringing it back a notch, taking it to the basics. We thought this one through. I've got something I'd like to share. I think a gem of a movie night or going to the movie theater, a treat to eat along with your movie feature, the sugar cookie. Okay, follow me here. If you've ever been to a draft house style movie theater, you may have had a selection of warm, freshly baked cookies, most likely chocolate chip. Am I right or wrong? I've had such a thing. Okay, follow me from here. I like to think about what could be different. I like to think about what could be refreshed or what is already out there that interests me when I want a little snack while watching a movie, especially in these theater regimented concessions that concern me. I don't know if you've been on the internet and seen the debates about pineapple pizza, but there's also debates about like chicken wings in the movie theater and greater servings of food, and maybe drink is along with that. But let me magnify that I know that there is almost equal debate like pineapple on pizza for popcorn along with movies. It's one of the most traditional snacks in American movie theaters, and most arguments are made about that it is one of the loudest snacks. Of course, like a potato chip and things like this get louder, but popcorn is pretty darn loud, and it's kind of like made that way. You want it to be crisp and crunchy. And okay, I hear you. And if I were to choose something else, then I'm telling you, follow me here, hear me out. The sugar cookie. When I experience a sugar cookie as my concession choice, I get a little bit of salty in there. I get a sweet with just a little bit of salty, and that's because there is most likely salt in cookies, but also that we know that it might be the most mild flavored cookie out there next to like a snickerdoodle and things, but it is this brilliant pure sugar with this cakey cookie, right? So you get a cakey cookie base, and you get a couple of those while you're watching the new Fast and Furious movie, and there's no distraction to anyone else around you. There's about as much mess as popcorn, as nachos, with the crumbs hitting your fingers. Less mess than most Cheetos products. And there's no ranch involved here. I'm talking about a classic sugar cookie, and I also want to call out to theaters that may offer something like this. Handle the sugar cookie. Offer it. But keep it on that warm baked thing, or offering, I don't know if gourmet, how about craft style a sugar cookie? You know, you could say there's some sea salt on that. I think go for it. But I'm not talking about a ton of frosting. I'm not talking about adding strawberry, cherry. I'm not talking about adding hazelnut or chocolate. That's really on you once you get the cookie in your hands. But I'm talking about a solid, classic sugar cookie done right. I'm not talking about the discounted, 3-day-old corner store pharmacy offering their cookies in a bag, or the sandwich shops, franchises offering cookies on a shelf. I'm talking about if they could offer you well done, like I said, craft, something that's understands quality, and is when you pay $20 for one of them, they better be pretty good. Am I right? But I would even say, why not bring your own? And I'm not one that's thinking I'm going to bring a whole pack of these. I'd say 3 sugar cookies for a damn good feature is what I'm going to bring. And hey, let me know what you think of that. And let me know if you've had that or tried it. But I just find that the taste is already offering something sweet and salty. It's mild. And it's also got some flavor that's not going to distract you. And it's going to have some notes that are going to hit your taste buds, similar to Kenny and his sodas. Also, the popcorn that is maybe on its way out. Just kidding. But you see where I'm going. Less mozzarella. Maybe less salt. More sweetness. You can hold it in your hand. You can break it up in pieces. And no one will know that you are scarfing down on this. That's my concession concern for this episode, and I think it is a doozy. The Movie Club movies. Today's feature. Captain Ron, 1992 Touchstone Pictures film starring Martin Short and Kurt Russell. Co-starred with Mary Kay Place and Meadow Sisto from the ill-fated Plums. Kurt Russell, Martin Short, you may know already. They are big names, living legends. They did great work in the 80s and 90s. Kurt Russell has been known for his VHS gems, his under-the-radar gems. Martin Short, a living comedic legend. He is from the Canadian comedy industry. He rose there, made a name for himself there, came, of course, to Hollywood, and we loved him. Three Amigos. One of my favorites, a small movie called Pure Luck, where he's with Danny Glover. I could talk about that on later episodes. Kurt Russell, you may know him from Escape from New York, Escape from Los Angeles. He's also in a great comedy called Used Cars. Co-stars Mary Kay Place, not as well known. If you can do any sort of research, you're going to find that she's a credited stage actor, and she is really doing a great job here. She's working against Kurt Russell and is in between Martin Short. I could see how that could be challenging if you're also not a role player that's been in several productions for Hollywood releases. But there's not much to criticize. I think that those four folks are doing really good job with a really good movie. And I've seen this movie countless times. It was definitely a summer rental. It was definitely a family rental. I stayed with it. I kind of always enjoyed it. It brings like the feeling, the element of sunshine. The way I view it, it is a very sunny movie because they're on a boat and they're out on the ocean, and then they dock and they visit sort of colorful or sunny sets that are islands and things. And we're going to get into that as we move through with the movie. Have you ever seen this movie? Are you familiar with Kurt Russell, Martin Short? Kurt Russell, pretty well known for coming up as a Disney young actor, and then had to sort of get above the heap and become a lead man on his own. You could put him against a Ryan Gosling, although Kurt Russell, for the era he was working as a young actor, he was in contract. A lot of actors were just in contract, so that was several dozen movies which he did he himself was acting in, and someone like Ryan Gosling, who was in numerous roles with that production, with Disney Productions, and came out of there, and it was a little bit more well known where Kurt Russell's coming from. So it was hard to shake that, and he ended up pulling The Thing and Escape from New York, and this sort of rolled him into this. No one was really laughing at him. We just didn't know what to do with him, and the roles he was choosing were sort of between the lines. They weren't dramatic, they weren't comedic, they weren't over the top action. They were in between. There was some drama, there was some dramedy, but there was definitely some action, there was some comedy. Martin Short, just as numerous a career, maybe a little bit more straightforward, not known for his acting chops, known for the comedic dynamo he is. Both of these guys, damn near geniuses. I would think Martin Short is on a short list of comedic geniuses, and a short list of comedic geniuses working today, and we love him for that. He is a very jovial guy. He can find a lot of comedy in conversations. He does do physical comedy. I think if you've seen Three Amigos, we're getting a great example of him there. He did characters on sketch shows, SNL-like shows, and at SNL, of course, but he, in his early to mid-career, was doing that as those outlets were much more available. It would almost be like an actor doing maybe a sketch show that's on television, but also web series, improvisational sketch series, and also maybe numerous podcasts, mainstream podcasts, something that creates a lot of buzz. But we're in this era where we've got so many peanut butters to spread. So a guy like Kurt Russell, a guy like Martin Short could do several different things for a movie, a feature, a series. And they did take the opportunity to do those things in several different places. Kurt Russell, I don't think, was a television star outside of Disney. But Martin Short, like I mentioned, was on sketch shows and things like that. And basically, as the way I see it, got a big name, a lot of his name out there on television series. And we continue. They're in this together. I wanted to say Kurt Russell in a fantastic movie, worth a rewatch. Definitely an incredible, fantastic example of a bad good movie, a good bad movie. Big Trouble in Little China. Incredible movie, and holds up fairly well. I think there's a whole lot of fun stuff in there. I think there's a whole lot of creepy stuff in that movie. And I think there's also a whole lot of imaginative elements and segments and scenes of that movie. And even a few of those characters are really memorable and fun to rewatch, to revisit. And look out for some more Kurt Russell in the future. Before we start packing our luggage for our summer vacation, let's take it down a notch. Remember a wool trench coat, your isotoner gloves, maybe a scarf, maybe mittens, some ear warmers. But let's go inside and get some hot coffee at an office building. The movie opens with Martin Short as Mr. Harvey, walking down a city street, bustling on his way to work, snotty. He sees a spread of broken glass. As he approaches the elevators, he's got coffee. We're overhearing a boisterous coworker giving us an explanation and some exposition. Something about this window just fell out onto the city street, or onto the city sidewalk, and he sort of quickly is just saying, "Can you believe that? Can you believe that? What if you were sitting right under it? What if you were walking into the door right under it? Oh my goodness." Something like that. He's in the elevator. He receives a legal paperwork from a bike messenger. Shout out to bike messenger. And this is the winter. Whew. But this guy is sweating his butt off. And we saw his bike come through. They kind of were showing us Martin Short walking down the city sidewalk. And we were seeing, feet pedaling, a bike rolling through. It's got reflector tape. It's pretty prime. And this guy was dedicated to delivering this package. He's overhearing this nitwit talk to Mr. Harvey, and he hears that Harvey's name's been mentioned, and he has taken it upon himself to say, hey, if you're Harvey, this package is for you. They're signing. People are crammed into this elevator, so he's passing a clipboard back and forth, and we're just seeing how uncomfortable winter is, how uncomfortable going to work is, and don't we need a break? Does anybody need a break around here? Another coworker is rifling through the elevator. Someone's sneezing right in his coffee, and they do that a few times, which it's just like, I guess Martin Short needs to cover his coffee. He needs to get that coffee, maybe underneath his the sort of the jacket area of a coat or something on himself. But he is doing comedically incredible physical work here, managing this co-worker's conversation about something tragic, and a bike messenger handing over a clipboard. It's packed. He's getting the clipboard. Someone's sneezing. I mean, you don't want that person. You don't expect that person to be doing it. Hey, whoever is sneezing into the cup of coffee right here, can you please, A, cover your mouth, B, maybe try to aim into your own suit jacket or elbow cuff. And I think it's female, but I'm just saying whatever your clothing is in the jacket area. I'm not sure if she's wearing a jacket. There's too much about this sneezing. It's gonna make me have hives. But it's post-COVID. Cover your mouth. He gets out of the elevator, only to read, we don't know, and then directly circle back to wait for an elevator. And he doesn't even wait. He wants to get back into the elevator he just came out of, which is really silly. But he's, keeping us involved. Is it something exciting? We don't know just yet. We're now at his house. His wife is home. She's busy. She's an interior designer, maybe an architect. I noticed that she's bundled up, and it's almost like they're taking the opportunity to layer her with some flowing scarf and a hat and gloves, and she's holding a phone. So I think we're also just supposed to play into this, that winter is upon us and everybody's bundled, and we're not going to show a bunch of shots of the office, city streets, their home. This is about it. We're going to get just a couple more peeks into regular life, and then we're headed on a summer adventure. Kid spills the milk. They discuss going on a trip. Harvey has inherited a relative's boat of some sort. She has been taking a call with a client, and we're going to run down a couple beats of her taking the phone call, having to rework on something that's on this kitchen table, and we're also going to see that she's taking a phone call from a client, and she's trying to say, okay, I got it, okay, I'll call you, okay, I'll call you, okay, thank you, okay, goodbye. And Martin Short is doing something in the other room that's like makes her want to hang up the phone. I don't know. Was he doing, was he taking his pants off in the other room? I don't know. I actually think he was he was amused by his news and was maybe just, waving her on, like, come on, look at this picture of the boat or something, because that part of the scene is happening in this like dining room or something, and we're just in the kitchen. We don't see what's going on, but she kind of, squeals with excitement at some point and comes back with the phone. Outside, his teenage daughter is newly engaged and has come from making out in a beefed up metal headbanger, shit kicker, black Bronco. Strolls in to say, yo, hey, guess what? I'm engaged. Call for adventure. The Harveys. Except. We now see our first location, the office of customs-like process, a sheriff, sort of suited professional, like what, a supervisor of customs. He's stamping a bunch of approvals. As far as I could tell, it's just like several different forms of approval, one after the other. I almost think that in Fast and Furious 7, Dwayne Johnson's ripping this guy off, because this guy is, he's got some stamping swag, and I love a good stamp. The boat is not what was expected. Not impressed. Mrs. Harvey does an amazing effort to climb aboard. Using the walking plank like a ladder, she is dressed for the town with short heels, kitten, mule, Cuban, slingback, low profile style, and she nails it. When she gets into the main part of the boat, we get a look around. And they are like rocking this boat. I don't know how you would film this if it wasn't. So this is most likely not a real boat that they're filming these interiors in, but it's some sort of like room set, right? That's probably on rollers or something, and stunt folks, effects folks are like moving this room up and down or whatever direction is needed to create a wave-like motion. And this is like, of course, our first moment of this, and she is doing a great job of making this look like it is going back and forth. I mentioned that she kind of hand and foot got up a walking plank, and that was, we saw a full boat for that. Interior, I don't know if now we're on a set or what have you, but it's great. It's rocking back and forth. You feel like she really is in a boat, and you feel like it's it needs some work, and it's not so comfy, cozy just yet. And move towards our introduction of Capt. Ron. First, some comedy. Daughter is bickering with the younger brother. You're the one that got engaged. Poof. Bro is kicked into the water. Martin Short throws a lifesaver. It is stale. I love that it like sinks. Like, that's awesome. I love that piece of props. Next, we see Martin Short doing phone acting to a hilarious outcome. A beautiful local man is standing like right next to where this payphone is, and it's not a payphone booth, it's just attached to a wall, and he is standing, staring, listening. And even as a kid, I got such a big kick out of this. I mean, if this movie was taking place in like Mississippi or something, you could also have like a local person sitting next to the phone, and it doesn't have to be any specific person. Just, I get it, like there's not a lot going on, the days are slow, it gets hot here. If the fishermen haven't come in with something interesting to purchase or share in a barbecue, you're most likely just better off checking out what else is going on. A peaceful family just making a phone call at your favorite office building. I don't know, and I just love it. I don't think there's any nastiness to this guy. I think he just wants to be entertained. He is not going to interact or intrude. He's just like, what would this American call? Are they gonna call Mickey Mantle? What are they gonna do? I'm gonna find out. And I got a conversation for a week. If you live in such a small town, I kind of get that. Martin Short turns and says, "I'm going to be a few minutes." Harvey is talking to a boat investor, a broker. Take a look at that boat, appraise the value, and hopes of taking care of some residential family debt. Run-of-the-mill bills. He will take a look at it once it's back in the States. Miami. The appraiser has a professional intuition and assigns his gorgeous 80s secretary to downgrade the captain to someone local. This is like tough. I want to say, this secretary reminds me of Elizabeth Berkley from Saved by the Bell. She went on to do Showgirls. She's fierce. But this is not Elizabeth Berkley. Very much looks like her. And it very much looks like her at this time. I would think Saved by the Bell, I think, is at its end. But it's not Elizabeth Berkley, but it's a doppelganger. Someone local. Here we have a bumblebee-sized car rolling up with a whirl of exhaust. Captain Ron continues to the boat and fam. His car, with comedic pace, rolls over the pier and into the chocolatey deep of the pier water. Shark attack, swab, dry rot, above the waterline. Do you think we should tell him we do not know much about boats? It takes a lot of oil. Captain Ron. All diesels do. Martin Short. All diesels do, hun. I love this initial interaction where we're melding, we're bonding, but we're not bonding just yet. We are melding as a group, and I'm with it. The son has asked what happened to his eye. Shark attack, swab. Ron famously is wearing an eye patch. He is wearing a tank top. He's got a little bit of a hemp necklace. He's got long hair. A part of it is braided. We're going to go through a series of looks for him, but they're all kind of based on this. And this is how we're meeting him. So he definitely looks like a guy who's coming through town. He reminds me of They Live, Roddy Piper. But Captain Ron did drive drove a car here. I don't think it's his own car. Ron offers incentives to the youngest Harvey, Swab. I love that Captain Ron is checking out all the gear, all the knobs and buttons, getting the boat going. And that is true. Much like the process scene of Corvette Summer, even shorter scene here, but we don't need to. This is a family movie, at least in marketing and in album cover terms. But he is walking around this charismatic boat interior, and he's checking it out, and we only have, maybe it's 5 feet by 5 feet we're actually have on camera. A part of it looks like a kitchen, but we're definitely in this sort of like engine room, and there's bottles and wrenches and things. Very cool, and it's just very neat. It like allows us to like also get on this boat. Everyone is in good spirits. It's a good tone. The boat is rocking back and forth, and Mrs. Harvey stumbles so perfectly, like to our left of screen, and Ron looks. Are you all right? It almost seems like the boat is on real water. And again, I'm not going to know from scene to scene when that's true. And a scene like this, where Mary Kay Place is either doing this on purpose, sort of like tripping over herself because of the rocking of the boat while she's trying to pay attention. And it was almost like the U-Haul scene in Corvette Summer, where they left it in. She kind of trips off screen, and Kurt Russell as Captain Ron is like, "Hey, you all right?" And it's great. Do we know if this is shot in real water, etc.? I love the actors. Mrs. Harvey has a small details like that throughout, and it really keeps this fam adventure glued together. Later, we see the real owner of the auto that rolled up and threaten Cap, only to be overcome by our hero, locals. They hold him from shooting straight at the family and their boat. And that's one of three. I think I see three locals get a hold of this guy, and one of them is our payphone friend. Off we sail, heading safely straight. Martin Short gets the boat to their destination. After waking Ron from the dead, Cap Ron takes it the rest of the way and swerves the boat to a soft bump against the patio, so to say. Everyone's having drinks on this patio pier. They all get up and scutter away. Cap hops onto the pier and orders, "Margarita, hey, it's a party!" And the party resumes. And you gotta check out these extras. They are making their money because they are dancing and having a party. They're sort of dressed to dance. They're sort of dressed to be at sort of a beach cabana party. And Captain Ron is, cozy as a clam. Family seems to like this so far. Martin Short begins to question the quality of their choice of captain. St. Hall.
Bongo Dog.
The night has wound down, and the Harveys small talk about the islands they want to see, with Captain Ron taking a look at the map and Mrs. Harvey's cleavage. After exiting from the conversation, Martin Short leaves with his wife, and Captain Ron is seen unable to control the breeze, blowing the map into the table candle, leading to a hole from the flame in the center of the map. Arguably could have been avoided, but never leave him alone with the map and a flame nearby. Mr. and Mrs. Harvey are our horniest characters, and they attempt to get romantic in the shower for privacy, ending up with a mop handle propped the door shut as they unsuccessfully turning down the water and wiggling for their lives. Captain Ron notices and comes to check on where the water is being used. He is playing like Monopoly with the youngest Harvey. Moments before this, the teenage daughter has left for a party and pays off the brother and Ron. Expensive night, she says. She goes from a couture red raincoat to a LBD and looks 90s fantastic. She is like 16, headed out for a night in like Aruba, St. Hog. His pickle green peak polo is hilarious. Mr. Harvey is putting the moves on his wife. When Martin Short begins to make his move with his partner, he undresses center camera, and he is wearing a long, ticked peak polo. And it's actually covering him and is so awkward in the movie. Why, Martin Short? Why do that? I guess it shows he's not a manly man and hasn't really been an aggressive thinker like it takes to pilot a boat in open water. Sort of like a office guy, doesn't really do hard work or something, or is just, it's really wild. This shirt is as big as like as long as a nightgown would be on a guy named Martin Short. So I don't know, but it's so odd. Soon after seeing Mr. Harvey in his pickled green peak polo, we see in HD Mrs. Harvey's boob at one point. So all along I thought this was a family movie. I never saw any nudity in this movie. I think that is a tell of the quality of our family's TV. the quality of television at the time, the quality of VHS, the quality of a picture in like 1994 or something, because I never saw this until playing this on HD in the last few years here. She's gorgeous, so go girl. But they are stuck in the shower before Captain Ron saves the first of many days by politely and with restraint allowing the mop to open and the shower door. Water gushes. All involved cover their shame, and Harvey and Ron have a gentleman chat about cleanup and safety. The next day, Martin Short is now wearing a red couture raincoat, or poncho, as the fam mends the bare bones of a wooden boat, sanding away on the open seas or a back lot in West Hollywood. Martin Short has a classic moment of being hit by a auto sander and has the funniest jump in the water. It's like his feet go above his, chest, and you see it in the whole frame. It's like the whole frame of the film gets his sneakers and the top of his head. Like, how do you do that? And this is the first of two really interesting jumps off this boat, and they are picturesque and really, really, I guess, effective, but interesting. And so check this out. He gets hit by an auto sander, and it kind of comes at him as he's near the side of the boat, and it just pops him off. And it is an incredible moment. The camera is angled in such a way to see him hop legs and feet into the frame as he goes somewhat straight up and out into the water. Man overboard. Okay, may I say that the outfits for the women in this movie are priceless, and the colors and style of patterns are so attractive and outside of Babysitter's Dead, only occasionally seen in this 80s, 90s taste. Like, most movies may go more basic, but like Babysitter's Dead and this movie, I mean, you could probably add to this list, but in my short list of recent watches, my short list of the movie club movies that I can kind of think about right now, there's great style going on, and well, I'm not trying to say that you have to pick a movie about fashion. What I'm saying is, in that movie, the wardrobe folks or the characters or the actors, however they're choosing what they're wearing, or even the extras, it all has come together, and people look great, and they look great in the time. So we're at the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s. 92 definitely has great signature, and they're probably shooting this in 90 or 91, and there's just some really great signature in this time. But of course, we're coming out of the great 80s, and Kurt Russell was a part of that. Of course, Martin Short. So I'm not saying anything like they wouldn't have access to it and there would be no reason to address them as 80s. But what's happening is whoever's in charge of dressing them has done it with such a great eye and such great taste. I only see that in movies that we're going to cover, but movies like Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And, Clueless is just another year or two after this. So, the glee you get from seeing how righteous Cher's clothes are in Clueless of the time, and not too over the top that you wouldn't want to wear it now. And that's what I'm seeing here is check out what both all characters are wearing, but it is interesting that the women keep wearing really cool patterns and colors. And I mean, the men are more basic, but you got Captain Ron as like a style icon and the style leader of this movie, and he's a crabby pirate daddy. So Mrs. Harvey and her daughter are dressed to mambo in a beach bungalow with their toes touching the ocean in a skimpy cut shorts and shoulderless tops, but are joining the rest of the fam, sanding, varnishing, cleaning, and rope tying stylishly. Martin Short falls off. Concern is increasing about our captain and steers badly. The oil cans are like in bulk in this shot, and I love the graphic design. Petro Mundo. Catch those. So he's complaining about Captain Ron, and we are starting to get he's stirring it in, the mix that Mr. Harvey is not really too happy about their choice of captain and is questioning it. The rest of the fam, even with the rough spots, has kind of been going with the flow, and they are complaining, but they haven't gotten anywhere yet, so they're not, they're hoping that their next step is vacation. They learn more about the boat and can identify elements on the boat as individuals, which is showing a lot in terms of taking this on themselves, piloting this boat, sailing this boat, and navigating to have some sort of adventure or vacation. We are grooving, and Mrs. Harvey is driving the boat, and we hear some Marley tunes. Kurt Russell is in a tiny Speedo and starts to groove behind her. I'll let everybody take a drink of cold soda. Clothes have melted off, and most are wearing swimwear along with denim shorts. Russell is still containing himself in a banana hammock with cold beers nonstop. He has picked up a camcorder, and shows a black and white booty shot. He is caught by Mr. Harvey, Martin Short, and a gag of dropping the cam happens, which again, the gags are excellently performed by these two, and these are the lead-offs. Captain Ron is having to watch himself, knowing Harvey is keeping an eye on him, improving his own safety and professional focus. He's like catching the vibe. We stop at most likely the best location in the movie, which is some sort of burger shack, a small grill, like made into a crashed airplane. One of the wings is like a table to eat, and there's just enough room that you can dance and mingle as you order. They just sort of connected a tiny patio, and it's from like an upcycled airplane of sorts. They all want food, and I've heard a couple choices like chili dog, chili fries, double bacon burger, and bongo dog. Guerrilla warfare. Gorillas. Equatorial Africa. So Martin Short walks on his own into the jungle in his striped shorts. Mambo time is here, shoes are off, kids are stuffed with jungle rat chili sandwiches. Beautiful scenic jungle, crisp and green. There was an argument about, hey boss, I wouldn't go into those woods alone. Oh yeah? Why's that, Captain Ron? You better watch out for gorillas. Gorillas are native to equatorial Africa. Let him hear me. Revolutionaries! So he found gorillas, and they're not the hairy type. They are the revolutionary type. And in order to get Mr. Harvey out of their clutches, which we don't see this adventure, something like Cap Ron negotiated that we, the Harveys, give them a ride to the next island we're headed to. So these guys are staying on the boat, and we will commute them illegally to our next location. Martin Harvey, what's this? Mrs. Harvey, Monopoly. Know this. It's a total it's a total macho trip, Dad. Just ignore it. Captain Ron traded the gorillas for him. Captain Ron. Yeah, I thought we'd ought to have them, boss, 'cause, we're getting into pirate waters here pretty quick. What pirates? Pirates of the Caribbean? Been to Disney World one too many times, a bit too much, have we, Captain Ron? I don't believe I've been to Disney World. I've been to Dollywood. I am laughing my ass off. We go from that scene to a beauty in the water. Clarice! Is she looking at me or is she looking at you? Russell is back in the red Speedo, and he will do such a great physical jump in the water. He looks with hints of Escape from New York. He seems to lower his shoulder and just pop off the edge of the boat into the clutches of an island muse, Clarice. Another small example of the pro efforts from the main cast, because I'm not saying he's jumping off 10 feet into water, but he is stanced and then hops, and it is so effective. Kurt Russell is jumping off this boat fantastically. There's something, he looks like an action hero. He looks like he's enjoying himself. He looks like he's a star on film. And I mean, he's in the Speedo, but I really mean like he's jumping now. I mean, this man is doing this incredible jump and he is wearing a Speedo, but just check it out. It's like G.I. Joe does not have jumps like this. Martin Short sees blood and wants to shoot him with the flare gun. He shoots a perfect circle into the boat deck. He follows to retrieve it from the shower, I guess, and blinds himself. The movie club movies that looking for ways of supporting artists and creatives that you connect with. Maybe they're independents, like myself, makers. You can do that by going to tpublic.com and buying merchandise from the movie club movies. They offer a spectrum of fits on a spectrum of products and apparel, and even gift ideas, all designed by the artists and their stores. Like us, the movie club movies, made by me. Check us out at tpublic.com/user/TMCMs. That's www.tpublic.com/user/TMCMs. Check out designs made along with the episodes and along with our favorite movies and interests, as well as graphics designed to promote my favorite podcasts, movie podcasts, and comedies at tpublic.com. The movie club movies. The son, aka the Swab, is mild annoying. He doesn't have much to do as a solo character. Like, his sister seems to find her way around, and she actually becomes a large thread of the movie. He does have spot-on child of the 90s way of shouting at for his mom and dad, and other whiny moments. Annoying. But how I experienced myself and friends at the time, pretty spot on. Entitled white 90s kids, up to park-like mischief. Clean your room, bud. It's the Burgermeister. This is absolutely gorgeous. A great scenic postcard sunset. A great scenic postcard sunset with slanted palms, and Martin Short cannot see straight. He bumps his head. This starts to get extra corny. Mrs. Harvey wants to show her husband she has found a carving of Clark Gable and Carole Lombard. These are great name actors. I don't know all of their movies, but there is a quickly mumbled line that this boat was owned by the estate of, I think, both of them or Clark Gable. This is at the beginning of the movie, but they don't really go into detail. I almost wish there was just one more photo of that transaction or the estate, or like a corny picture of the actors sailing it. It came from Mr. Harvey's like grandpa or something, and he said he's been on the boat, and we do have a funny Clifford style photo of Martin Short sailing this boat with adult supervisor in black and white, as if a family photo was taken. But he cannot see, and again, she is hot with romance. Okay. The gorillas strum a guitar, and a model-esque younger gorilla speaks to Harvey the teenager, and her lines are garbage. That is so cool. Yikes. The son is playing Monopoly for dimes and tells off the general gorillas. So he's got a death wish. When he might be developing a Monopoly vice. Mrs. Harvey has found the carvings while she was stripping. Her words: this bed, the ocean, the most romantic I could ever imagine. Most likely written by a man who's rocking the boat. Best sex. Undies flowing in the breeze. Kurt Russell is looking in top flight. He has neon shades, beaded braids, and an origin story of riffraff, John Gabriel styles, and taking a page from Randy Macho Man Savage. The storm comes, and Mrs. Harvey is a class act, taking care of the boatload of jackasses. She's got safety vests on all of them, and she's going over the instructions, and she's helping them tie, and it's like she's done all of her research on all of the websites that she bought these safety vests, and she's like mentioning like, you'll never untie that if you tie that knot that way. It's like so perfect. It does feel improvised. It's not like she's getting splashed in the face with water, but water is misting, water's coming in because they're just trying to buckle down, and there's a lot of and in the cabin, but this old boat is taking it on. Everyone holds on for dear life. Teen Harvey is wearing a purple raincoat. The compass gag. Oh my gosh, guys. So in this movie, there is this old compass that is just like a dome for us. We don't get to see much detail of it. And it sits on this sort of desk-like structure, a podium-like structure that has numerous knobs and enabling things that we don't see, but it's behind the wheel of this boat. And Captain Ron, with confidence, is constantly using these things, and it's really great. But at the beginning, with the dry rot, this compass is sitting up there, and he just takes a look, and it easily slides off, and we're to know that, oh, it's dry rot, boss. Dry rot above the waterline. And now we are with this compass, and it had been, we think that it's been fixed or whatever, and it's there, and all of a sudden it's just like, whee! It's gone, and everybody jumps for it, because I think there's even a scene or a line where it's saying, we'll be fine as long as we got this compass. It's priceless. I know we're near land because we had just enough fuel to get us there, and we're out of fuel. Land! Martin tries to strangle Ron. Kurt Russell, after getting Martin Short off of him, is again man-steering the boat, and as an actor is doing an incredible job of holding on to the lever and holding on to those things as the boat is rocking. They're still not out of danger necessarily, and he is obviously framed as a hero. He is looking over to Mr. Harvey like, I got it for you, boss. And it's just doing this incredible acting job of holding on to these levers and it just looks tough and looks like tension, and he is just framed like a hero. The spray of water is hitting everybody, and we're just like, did I make the right choice hiring this captain or what? We go straight to Mardi Gras, or like a Mardi Gras like festival, and it looks fun and pretty and is completely a set and seems contained and television. Harvey's son wants to wear a patch like Cap Ron. Mama Harvey says, let's talk about it. Yeah, 1991, good save. This movie starts to step down steps at this point. We have left the boat and the movie remains vulnerable. And so are the Harvey's fam. We make our way around the parade of party and Harveys have dispersed. Where are our kids? Not a good thing to be saying when you are out of America on vacation, or you are on vacation somewhere public, anywhere. Let's simplify. Search for kids. Ron and Harvey, Harvey's son, look for Ron's glass eye. To Harvey and the Harvey, it's this, Mr. and Mrs. Harvey are in jail. Now, you can just tell. I went from the young Harvey and Captain Ron were looking for Captain Ron's glass eye, which is bouncing around like a bouncy ball. And then we immediately go to they are in jail. Are they in jail because they lost their kids? Cut to Mad Dog from Frasier. You have been extradited and exiled from the island. When? Now. Police cruisers. Search for the kid continues. A mean man. Mean muggin'. 90s vacation outfits wall to wall. Lots of Miami Vice blazing. We didn't want to wander around and be unsafe. We got this band and some people can dance. Where is our son? Boy with a tattoo. A daughter flirts and finds another island guy. So we have brought the island police to a corner alleyway where the teenage daughter, along with Captain Ron and along with the young Harvey boy, got a band, and so people can dance. People gathered and started dancing, and this is sort of their party. So edit. Was this a 3-hour cut? I mean, was this like a 2-hour cut? I don't know. But there is a mean guy that has sort of eyed our family, and we know just about as much about him as we do about this entire segment of the movie. The young man has a tattoo on his chest, and yeah, like I said, the daughter's flirting with another guy. You know, they've got some really handsome extras. These men who, or these young men who most likely are like 16, like her, don't have to say much, don't do much. They wave, they smile. That's about it. Martin Short takes the rest. So this is definitely a jumble of things I'm talking about here, because we're talking to the daughter and this island guy she has met. She's engaged, but she has been telling people, you know, it's not a problem. She's 16, or I mean, am I wrong? Didn't they say she's like, is she 18? I mean, what is going on? I'm reading what I wrote down, and this movie has taken a turn. What the heck is going on? I'm going to stop here for a moment and just read my next line. Tattoo runs past 90s outfits into the empty shower on the boat. We all trip over Ron and this island's muse. Strip Monopoly. WTF. That's where I'm at. So we've just added more. Captain Ron is not in this alleyway dance party with the band so people can dance. He's in the cabin smooching on some woman, but at the same time, he's not making out with her. He is playing strip Monopoly with her, and Harvey's son, it would be, because now we've seen him take General Gorilla's money, he's running, the gag is that he's running the table of Monopoly, and now it's become strip Monopoly. Captain Ron, you're supposed to be supervising, and this is not, I didn't write the script, guys. Let's keep going here, because I'm finding out more about this movie from what I wrote, and it's spectacular. Martin, kids with tattoos, Kurt Russell in his underoos, Roscoe wants his money from strip Monopoly, so he takes the boat. Cap Ron left to the streets of Pablo St. Lucas. The cold beer is now warm. The fam is sailing the boat as far as they can get. We see pirates. Harveys are now in Castaway's yellow raft, floating nowhere. But attitudes are all positive. They almost all have the face of like the people on the instruction guide on airplane escape manuals, where it's like you would think they should be screaming and shouting at each other, crying and red-faced at frustration. They've been spit out of their own boat into this crappy safety flotation device, and like Elle mentioned, Castaway, they're just floating to the nearest whatever. But all attitudes are positive. We will make it through this, and bump, bump, bump. We are in Cuba. Thanks, Mr. Harvey's head. Harvey's son can see the family's boat, which is rad. He kind of like hops up on this junk pile and like he's trying to look around at where they're at. The parents are talking about, is this Cuba and is that safe enough? Anywhere is safe. Let's just be on land here. And he's like, I think that's our boat. Rad. Teenage Harvey sees that the pirates have their stuff, and they're actually looking at undies and stuff. And she says, "Hey, you creeps, stay out of my stuff." Just then, Cap Ron rolls up in a red old classic car. Bloodthirsty, heavily armed pirates against the Harvey family. Is it possible we floated for 16 hours and ended up at the same spot as our boat? Well, relative to what? To the last 3 times? There's like a hidden movie to this, guys. If you can put what that informs us. Oh, door opens. Every time the garage door opens, I talk about a movie quote. Today's movie quote. This episode's movie quote comes from the movie Goonies. Don't you realize the next time you see Sky, it'll be over some other town. The next time you take a test, it'll be in some other school. Our parents, they want the best of stuff for us. But right now, they gotta do what's right for them because it's their time. Their time, up there. Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here. That's all over the second we ride up. It's Captain Ron leading the chase back to the boat where he angles the car to block the hanging-on henchman again on a chase, while Who Put the Bump plays on the diegetic radio. Martin has to get the boat started. The family says it's not his fault. We are all in this mess. Lots of sentiment statements left hanging. It is Harvey versus the boat engine, the FM 1200. Kurt Russell slips and says he may have broken his leg. The boat starts off, much like Ron's dinky car rolled off the pier in the beginning. The pirates' bullies are quickly following, lots of SeaWorld action spectacular, henchmen stumbling, cars rumbling, stunts looking perfectly awful. And Martin swings, using a part of the sail he learned from his mistakes before, bumps the bully pirates into the water, and we see the Harvey fam sail into a sunset, or daybreak. The engine stalls. They ran it without Petro Mundo. Hard stop. Capron says, "You gotta sail. Every one of you is a natural. It shows." Harvey sends us off. Catch the wind. Kurt Russell starts calling the Coast Guard or SOS from ships, CB radio. Second movie to use a CB. These people are taxpayers. We're doing our job out here. Do yours. The pirates are on the target to take this family out with heavy artillery and bump the U.S. Coast Guard. You're the captain now. Should we appraise this beast? The boat is pretty and charming after they put all the effort into it with a load of cash they have on them back in Chicago. Sure, they will be able to invest in more improvements instead of the kids' college funds. Nah, the Harveys turn the ship around and decide on family adventure. Okay though, wash your hands, wear your sunscreen, and bring deodorant because Kurt Russell gets kissy in this. And just like that, Capron disappears and returns as a Miami Vice small yacht captain and takes 2 VHS tape yuppies into oncoming boat traffic. Bump. Who put the bump in the bump? She bump. Who put the ram in the ram-a-llama ding dong? Who was that man? I'd like to shake his hand. Captain Ron came and saved our fam. Vin Diesel, that's family. Plz Be Kind. Plz Rewind. The movie club movies that The movie club movies can be found on Instagram and Twitter. TeePublic for merchandise. This podcast was written and edited by JustinJustin and co-produced by ELLE and JustinJustin. Special contributor always goes out to ELLE. Find Archbishop as well as ELLE on Spotify Music. Shoutouts to John G, Archbishop, IA, Gerhardt, Emily, Rich, Jamie, Miguel, JS, Cal Cleveland, Castro Coffee, FaZe Coffee, Scarecrow, Roxy, Castro, Alamo, Movies for Maniacs, WHM, ABZ, HDTGM, Movie and Comedy Podcasts, anybody who has ever listened to my thoughts or choices of movies, and special thanks to those at A-Motion Studio and Brandon Street contributors. And most importantly, hashtag TMCMS 2011 to 2023 and beyond.